Chapter 1. The First Step. Tell me, have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror and felt insignificant? Like, no matter what you did or how much you worked for something, it was never enough? Every day I would wake up feeling disappointed in myself. It felt like I wasn't reaching my true potential. Due to my royal family lineage, I've always had high expectations placed on me, ever since the day of my birth. And because of that, every day became another grim reminder that I just wasn't good enough. I would come to envy others for their great talents, and not once did I stop to consider that what I had was greater than anything I could have ever imagined, though whether it be a gift or a curse remains unknown to me. I'm telling you this because, in order to fully understand this story, I must first take you back to the beginning, where everything first began. This is not meant to be a lighthearted tale, but the tale of the promises I wish I had upheld. This is the story of the long-lost world known as Neptar. I had awoken from my slumber face down on the floor and covered in sweat. I had gotten another nightmare. Recently, they'd been getting more common, and frankly, I was beginning to get worried. As I stood up and changed out of my sweaty clothes, I glanced over to find one of my books had been knocked down from the shelf next to my bed. My room was fairly small and ordinary, more so than you'd expect considering my status as prince anyways. I had a black rug, a small black bed, and a long black shelf full of books. You can probably start to see a pattern here. I picked the book up and flipped to a random page. Advanced Techniques. It was a combat book, one that had techniques for all skill levels, and I just so happened to flip to a page for more advanced users. The first technique on the page was a physical-based flame attack. My planet, Neptar, was the planet of fire. What this meant was that we Neptarians are born with the natural ability to project and control flames. We are all taught how to utilize our power as children, but we don't all learn to harness its maximum potential. Similar to a muscle, our power grows stronger the more we use it. However, if we use it too much, we begin to tire out, so it's more of a high-risk, high-reward type of ability. Step 1. Ignite a small flame. As I continued to read the page, I became ecstatic. It was quite rare to come across a physical-based flame attack. Most common techniques require the use of flame projection, which I was really quite bad at. Okay. Step 2. Engulf your fist in the flame. Step 3. Release all pent-up energy at the exact moment of contact during the punch. Seems simple enough. As I ignited a small flame, I managed to make a fist but found myself struggling to keep the flame still. It takes an extreme amount of focus to keep a flame from becoming unstable. Nevertheless, I tried my best to throw the punch even with the sporadic flame, but as I did, I accidentally let go of the flame too early, and let's say the result was less than desirable. To put it bluntly, I had blown a huge hole in my wall, and very shortly after, I heard a knock at the door.
Excuse me, Prince Mystery. Are you all right in there?
I heard one of the castle servants call out to me. I scrambled to try and get any stray pieces of wood away from view. I opened the door slightly, just enough for her to see me, but not so much as to let her see the mess behind me. Hello, Lydia. Lydia was a resident of the castle. She was a fair maiden, slightly taller and older than I was. She had bright orange hair and crimson-red eyes. From the moment I was taken under my grandfather's care, Lydia had been assigned as my personal caretaker, so naturally, she had become almost like a mother figure to me.
Is everything all right in there? I heard a loud crash.
I'm all right. I just knocked some stuff over, that's all. I couldn't help but notice she didn't seem to believe me all too much.
Sure. Anyway, Lord Zant would like to speak to you.
This early in the morning?
Sir, it's already past noon. Please be ready soon.
She went to close the door, but just as I was about to turn around, she opened the door once again.
Oh, and you should also maybe wash your face. You've got a bit of ash all over it.
I became flustered and proceeded to slam the door on her, and once I did, I scurried to try and find some loose paper around my room in order to find a way to cover the huge hole I had just made. A few minutes later, I heard yet another knock, and I began to panic. I had only managed to gather enough paper to cover half of the hole.
Prince Mystery, your grandfather's insisting that you come upstairs right away.
Yeah, I'll be right there. Just give me a second. I dropped all of my tools and I quickly snuck out of my room before anyone could take a look inside. I headed up the stairs of the dusty cellar, which was located right under the royal hall. I then went straight to the throne room. Every morning was always this hectic mess. I would always be greeted by many of the castle's servants and guests. They'd always refer to me as Prince or Sir, as if I'd somehow earned their respect simply by being born. I had always blamed it on my grandfather. Since he's the king, everyone expects me to be just as great as he is. My grandfather was a man of great stature. His hair was naturally blonde, but over the years had become a sort of light gray color, so he began to comb it back. I'd always found it a bit strange since blonde hair is typically more common in other places, like the wind planet Arium or the lightning planet Odima, though he says I got my black hair from my mother. My grandfather also had a fairly long beard and mustache, light blue eyes, and he always wore a red and gold robe everywhere he went. Even with all of that, however, don't let his appearance fool you. Though he may indeed be extremely powerful, nimble, and healthy, he is much older than he looks.
Mystery. Good morning, or should I say afternoon? You look well today.
He looked up at me as he was signing various documents. You, wanted to see me?
Yes. I wanted to tell you about a new program I recommended you into.
There was a seemingly menacing look on his face. That never bodes well. You recommended me.
I thought you might enjoy a nice change of scenery. You know, to get out there and make some friends.
What program did you sign me up for? I was hoping he'd notice my lack of enthusiasm.
It's a new training group led by Captain Strek.
Strek? He's the leader of the combat sector, right?
Indeed. That man is one of the best knights our Kingdom of Torn has to offer. There's quite a lot you could learn from him.
Wait, but doesn't he only teach higher level courses?
Is that so?
No, wait, forget that. Do you really think this course will help me?
You may have improved quite a lot these past few years. However, your skills are still a bit lacking, to say the least.
What do you mean, lacking?
I mean, you lack refinement. And frankly, you need to learn a bit of restraint every once in a while. We wouldn't want you to blast any holes in a wall, now would we? There is no such thing as being good enough.
He began to go on another one of his philosophical rants.
Training is something that never ends. We can never truly expect to reach our peak potential. There's always room to grow.
Fine. When does this program begin?
It will be starting soon. I suggest you begin heading out now. I believe Strek said something about gathering out in the combat field just outside the kingdom, near the outskirts.
Wait, what? It's today?
Hurry along now, wouldn't want you to be late.
Yeah, I got it.
And Mystery, please keep the destruction to a minimum next time.
The Kingdom of Torn was Neptar's royal capital, and because of that, we had a lot of tourists, though most of them were Neptarians of high status. I really wouldn't blame one for thinking that Torn was essentially a place for the rich and powerful since, on the surface, that's what it appeared to be. The place I was heading to, however, was near the edge of town. It was a common gathering place for Torn's main combat force and a very popular marketplace, called the Outskirts. Many of Torn's lower-class residents would spend most of their days there, selling and purchasing various goods. Back in the day, I would go there every week in search of any and all combat books, whether they were manuals, guides, or even just stories. Oh, I loved going to the outskirts because the people there don't spend hours staring at me in awe. Actually, it was pretty rare for someone to recognize me, especially if I wore a nifty little disguise like I usually did. Noblemen had always treated me very highly, so it was quite nice whenever I'd get the chance to be away from any of them. One thing that helped me do so was my extreme obsession with the art of combat. My ultimate goal in life had always been to reach the rank of the Royal Knight, the highest rank of power and prestige one could achieve. Adventuring sounded amazing, don't get me wrong, but since I was the prince, joining a guild wasn't really in the cards for me. Regardless, the Royal Knights had always been my goal, though I never really stopped to think why becoming one seemed so intriguing to me. I don't know, maybe it was just a coping mechanism, a way to prove to myself that I wasn't just a useless prince. As I had arrived at the outskirts, I looked ahead of me to see a small group of people lined up on an open field.
Mystery! You're late. Get in line.
It was Captain Strek, and from the looks of it, he seemed pretty angry. And let me just tell you a bit about this man. He was truly a force to be reckoned with. He was quite a large and burly man. He had a thick brown beard, a bald head, and his right eye had a large scar across it. This man sent chills down your spine just by glaring at you, so you can probably imagine how fast I ran. There were 5 other students besides me. They were all extremely high-ranking students at Torn's Academy, all A-ranked, while I, on the other hand, had only managed to move up to a C rank during my 2nd year, and I ended up being stuck there for about 5 years since. Oh, what was my grandfather thinking? I was way out of my league here.
Now that everyone has finally arrived, we can begin with our introductions.
His stance alone emanated an intimidating presence.
Every single person in this group was specifically chosen by King Zant. He believes that each of you possess incredible latent potential. This class will help you attain those higher levels of power.
Would you care to enlighten me on something?
Trock, if I remember correctly, was part of a prestigious royal family, which explained his bold nature. He was also a quite tall and burly guy, though not as much as the captain. Honestly, it was surprising to think that he was around my age just by looking at his height. He had short brown hair, which he always combed back, and he also proudly displayed his status through his wardrobe alone.
What is it?
Why am I being grouped up with this bunch of nobodies?
My sincerest apologies. I didn't mean to ruin your chance at glory, oh mighty one.
Riza was a girl of slim build. She had very short brown hair, which was always brushed to one side of her head. Her body was covered in markings, and she commonly wore a lot of jewelry.
Oh, you've got something to say to me then?
As a matter of fact, I do. Why don't you take a look around before opening your trap?
Riza had replied while pointing directly at me.
Enough! I'm sure you already know Riza, Mars, and Jewel since you're all in the same group.
He turned his attention towards me.
The boy wearing black? That's Prince Mystery.
Trock quickly became silent and his ego instantly plummeted.
As for the boy wearing the silver armor, he currently holds the number 2 spot in A rank, just under Mars. He is a transfer student, one who managed to reach the same level as you all within a span of only 2 years. So I suggest you check your facts before submitting to your ego next time, Mr. Trock.
The guy he had described was standing right next to me. He was called Blade, and I had known him for quite a few years up until this point. Ever since he transferred into Torn's Academy, he had been at the top of his class, and despite being both quite young and a commoner, he managed to become A-ranked within 2 years, a feat unheard of. He was so good, in fact, that he was allowed to skip a whole rank the moment he transferred. My grandfather had arranged a place for him to stay at the castle. We weren't the best of friends, but as time went on, we kind of got to know each other a bit.
Now then, are there any other concerns?
Blade had then looked at me as I was about to have a panic attack.
Well, you seem prepared.
Blade was slightly taller and older than I was. He had platinum blonde hair, blue eyes, and he always wore his signature silver armor with a sword sheath strapped to the left side of his waist. Give me a break. I just woke up.
That explains it. Well, it's nice to finally be in class with you, Prince.
It's settled then. For your first test, I need to see where you all stand. So we'll be doing a little sparring session.
Crap.
With that being said, the next person you lock eyes with shall be your sparring partner.
Wait, what? No. You've got to be kidding me. Unfortunately for me, I was looking directly at Blade as the announcement was made.
Excited to see what you can do.
Shortly after, the captain began distributing weapons. He was actually giving out real swords. This man was trying to kill us. Blade took a long look at every single sword before even picking one up.
You're kidding. We're using these things?
He could tell you the specifics of a sword. Well, I hardly knew how to use one. He swung the sword once so that the tip cut through the grass.
They could have at least balanced the weight a bit more. I guess it will do. Anyways, are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be. I casually raised my sword, quite unenthusiastically, may I add. Blade held the sword in front of himself, closed his eyes for a moment, and took a deep breath.
Let's begin.
His eyes locked directly onto mine, filled with determination. It was clear that this wasn't just a simple sparring session for him.